This is an open letter for Elon Musk. Uh, Here's the thing. This open letter is regarding population. You gave an interview, and your perspective on the population was that we don't have enough. There is not enough human beings on Earth. 8.5 billion people on Earth. 8.5 billion. I think the only other animals that we have beat every other mammal in terms of numbers. We have beaten all reptiles in terms of numbers. The more there is of us, there is less of them, because there's just no room for it. Between the streets and the highways and the airports and the ports and all of that, and houses and all of that, between all of these, there is not much left for the animals, for the other co-inhabitants of planet Earth. So your point that you say, okay, 8.5 billion is not enough. Go ahead, you got to reproduce. Population is falling. Falling from where? I mean, Niagara Falls also falls. The water also falls off Niagara Falls, but just because there is a big gap between what is normal on this side and what is normal on this side, and you would think that the water is following from what is abnormal towards what is normal. So having less humans on Earth is actually a good idea. So nobody said let's eliminate them by war or genocide. Nobody's suggesting that. What we are suggesting is just let's not reproduce more than this. Yes, the population needs to go down because we are very, our lifestyle and the way we choose to live, bigger areas for, richer people, and then, we own the land, and then the problem with us, the problem and the advantage with us is that we are, destructive as well as much destructive as we are productive. It's sort of like you have to tame the land, and taming the land means destruction, deformation of the land to serve our purposes. That's the taming of the land. So based on this concept, we are more destructive because that taming that we do, it makes the land difficult to inhabit by the inhabitants of the land, of other inhabitants of the land. Because we like uniformity and vast areas under cultivation. It just makes the area not in. We try to keep the other inhabitants off the land because we are using it. We are utilizing it for a better use as far as we see it. Better use for us to put up a highway. It's not really good for the other inhabitants of this land because it serves your purpose, not theirs. So they are pushed out of the land. So the point is this: 8.5 billion people, and what effect we have had already on this planet. And you say reproduce more? Dude, Mr. Musk, I suggest take a year off. Travel. Travel to Sri Lanka. Maybe travel to Bangladesh. Here's the one for you. Maybe travel to Bangladesh and see that you as an icon, when you call for more children, you go to some of these places, and I guess you can find, as many children as you want. You go and understand numbers over there, and understand that no, maybe not reproducing is not the best message. What is this? What are these numbers supposed to? What are these numbers supposed to provide to you? These numbers are supposed to provide more productivity to you, or more consumption, or both, more productivity and more consumption. To what end? So yes, I understand the necessity of going to the moon and the Mars and all of that, but what is the point of life? Are we, Borgs in a Borg cube that sort of like have a less enjoyable life because there is more of you, because there is less to go around, so life becomes, less enjoyable for more of you. I mean, rats live. They're also living. Rats are existing, but would you want to be a rat? I mean, do you want to be a rat within rat living standards? No. So you're looking from above to the to the population below, and you look at it as in terms of numbers, economy. If there's more people, then there's more productivity, so there is more money, more human productivity put together, so we can, conquer Mars and Iran, conquer Mars and Iraq, conquer Mars and Riyadh. So on this basis of going everywhere, doing everything, there is a lot of loss taking place, loss of normal life, compromise of a normal life to a life as a Borg. So you're saying, Borgs have very little needs. Borgs do not need leisure time. Mr. Musk, I suggest to you, please visit the rest of the planet, because my understanding is you were brought up in South Africa, in the white part of South Africa, the white colonies. We don't associate ourselves with the shitty locals. So you were brought up there. And then you went to Canada, and then from Canada you went to California. It's sort of like associating with wealthier and wealthier groups of very exclusive individuals of pink skin origin, dominant, with the bigger militaries and the bigger penises, dominant over the rest of the planet. And you have never stepped out of the pink skin jurisdiction. Please do. Because when you say reproduce more, I don't think Bangladesh needs more people. Do you? I mean, are we in a race with Bangladesh? Are we in a race of race survival, so there needs to be more of us and less of them? Are we in a race? Let's not have abortion clinics because people of Kabul do not have abortion clinics, so pretty soon our numbers are going to fall behind them. Oh, that's not the correct logic. That's the logic of the a rat race. That's if our numbers falls below them, we are in trouble. Who is we? Who is them? We are all fucking got on this planet of not of our choosing. Somebody else made a choice, so therefore we exist. So this whole idea of bringing a bunch of people into this world and then having jump at each other's throats. The more of it, the better. It's like there is only so much, productivity there is to go around. Bring more hungry mouths into the system, so these hungry mouths would one day potentially use our arms that we produce each side, use these arms and kill more of each other. Create more open mouths, and therefore create more wars, because the resources are constant. Yes, you can go to the moon and the stars and other. You can also get more resources from Mars and moon, and you can, eventually create the Death Star that apparently you're planning for. But the Death Star was the wrong message here. The right message were the guys who went spiritual, more spiritual and less electronic. Even in Star Wars, the ones who were more spiritual, may the Force be with you. That was a spiritual aspect of the thing, and those were defined as the good guys. The bad guys went towards the machine and less spiritual, more mechanical, more automated. That they were supposed to be. Darth Vader was the symbolism of what happens if humans turn into automatons. He was the first Borg. The Darth Vader character was the first Borg thought of. That is more automaton, more computing power than it is soul. Human soul, That's what I was referring to when I said you have to get emotional, very emotionally apt person as consultant at the room all the time with you. She would basically act as your conscience in the room. This would be this would be a lifesaver for you, dude. I mean, that emotionally apt person, which probably is maybe a Jamaican from living a life of misery until recently, due to her own intellect, she has risen, something like that. Then having a daily exchange with such a person would help you realize the other side of the coin, and such person probably will take you down to the shithole that she's living. She used to live till yesterday, and how there's still at the shithole that there is still is a shithole, the same shithole that she left, and still is a shithole. And the main problem of the shithole is overpopulation. Too many people, too little resources, and bad credit. Then you realize that maybe this is not such a good idea. I mean, you gotta have a trip to Sri Lanka, have a trip to Bangladesh, have a trip to India, and see how disorganized overpopulation is just not a good idea. Let them see let us see if they can manage what they have on Earth. Then issue a verdict of, let's have more of us. We are great. Yes, you're great. Hopefully your children are going to be great, but not. You made a choice. Okay. Thank you very much on behalf of humanity. But don't encourage it for everybody. This is, you don't want a rat race. You don't want automatons who are, working 24/7, nothing to, not being able, not having any other choice but to be part of an automaton machine. It's like there is no leisure. Borgs don't have leisure time. They're automaton to perform certain functions at certain speeds. And this high productivity is because, one automaton is controlling 5 machines which are, less intelligent than this automaton, and hopefully, and this automaton, when it's done, he has just goes, eats, sleeps, screws, back to work next day. There's going to be an automaton burnout. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, maybe UBI is it could be discussed, universal basic income, because you're taking their jobs away from them, and many of these automatons, many of these people they don't have the kind of skills that you're looking for. Your main, who you're looking for are people with very good cognitive abilities. A lot of the population does not have such good cognitive abilities, and that tends to be the majority. In fact, those with the cognitive abilities are the ones who don't usually reproduce much. Yeah, but the point is this: if you advertise it, you're making it into a big rat race. Let's see, Pope still says contraception is against against our own interest. Contraception is not against the word of God. It's just contraception is against our own interest. Now, you're defining our own means you think of yourself as different than the rest of humanity, because a human born in Africa, doesn't necessarily, that's also my reproduction, because we are of the same, line. Basically, the DNA matches. Because the DNA matches and these motherfuckers can reproduce together, that means it's really, the numbers really doesn't matter. Not everybody needs to reproduce for the humanity to have reproduced. So I'm not sure, and shouldn't be this rat race of more and more of our race, because we are behind in the race for race. You need people, start importing people, give them the same rights as everybody else. You need people. I mean, you're asking for more people, right? Open the borders and say all Bangladeshi and all Indians who want to live in Silicon Valley, please come on in. They're full of people. The world is full of people. You can't just say produce more people, advertise reproduction, and not know that how many we have already. I mean, you open the door and they will come. You can get as much people as you want from Asia and Africa. They're trying to get here, even if they had to illegally. So, dude, I mean, reproduce at what cost? You want people? Okay, bring these people in. You open the doors and you will get as much as you want. So who is it that you're? So my understanding is you don't have a concept that we have enough people. You have surrounded yourself with a few very intelligent people, cognitively intelligent, but usually emotionally unintelligent. You yourself are such, and your people around you are of such. Very high cognitive abilities, but very little emotional abilities, emotional understanding, and from physical as well, not much there. So the point is this. You are looking at the matter in a very mathematical way. You are looking at it in a very mathematics kind of look at it. That's sort of like They're defining the capital as distillation of labor. Yes, yes. Okay, make your labor more productive with less people, or with the people that already exist. I mean, labor, you want labor, go to Indonesia. You get as much labor as you want. And that's why this whole idea of China produced everything, and we are behind in the game of production. We are left behind in the game of production because they were willing to, the labor was cheap. You want cheap labor, Indonesia. If your problem, Mr. Musk, is numbers, I need more people. It's, I mean, you need to travel. You need to travel. You need to go. Maybe with as little fanfare as possible, to go to some of these places on this planet. Go to Nigeria, and with little fanfare, so you would not disturb the local ecosystem, and you see how they're living, and their numbers. Open the doors, and half Nigeria will be in New York City tomorrow morning applying for residentship. You can have as much people as you want from Nigeria, from India, from China, from all over Africa, all over South America. They're all full of people, full of potential. It's all there, but it's like so much potential is going to loss. But then you're saying, why don't you people reproduce more? Because economy, when you do the numbers, it means, the next generation has to be, there's enough of them to carry the last generation in terms of production numbers, in terms of added productivity to the economy. The more of them, the more weight they can carry behind them, the older generations. Yes, numbers are, it is what it is. Yes, numbers are like that. But, the substitute generation has to be as big as the generation that has left. But then this rat race never ends. In fact, if the substitutions are, there's more of them, even better. An easier time they have in terms of productivity, that it would be easier for them to carry the older generations on their back, and progress. But at what cost? At what cost? The cost of so much productivity going to waste that is already exists. Have you thought of using that productivity? Well, they were doing it the right way, and they use the productivity of the Chinese, but now they're wondering why they made a profit, or why they were paid for their labor. The Chinese should have worked for free. They used the productivity the right way, and they produced what was told to them, that this is what makes money, and that is mass production. They did it, and they did it very well. What next? They didn't do anything wrong. You wanted some shit, they built some shit, they gave you the shit, they sold you the shit, they got paid for their labor and material and profit. So the point is this: even at these numbers, these guys are at each other's throats, each one wanting more. Each race apparently is fighting for the race. Therefore, you have AUKUS, which is United States, UK, and a UK friend, a colony of UK, Australia. In a few years, New Zealand is going to be added to it, and then maybe they offer Japan an in to sit with the white boys. Maybe not. Let's see. It's sort of like they're creating an issue where none exists. None should exist. But they're creating and a lot of it has to do with, more, more money, more resources. They all have, from all sides, it's all about more money, more resources, more power, because we are all fucking scared out of our head. We are paranoid people. We are paranoid people. We are scared as a race of creatures on this planet. We are emotionally all scarred and fearful for our life. That's why we are, everybody's armed, country-wise and city-wise and people-wise, and everybody's talking about arms and arms. We need to be armed. We need to be ready to do what? Battle with another humanoid like yourself on this planet because you don't think there's enough for both of you to eat? I mean, your problem are the homeless in your country. Whoever is listening to this, your problem are the homeless in your country. Your problem is not territorial integrity. Shouldn't be territorial integrity. Those lines on the map are judiciaries, lines of judiciary. They're arbitrary. The fucking British and the French came up with the idea. Let's draw lines on the map, those areas that we can't control, such as Iran, and those areas that we can control, such as Kuwait. And let's cut them in a very smaller pieces, because the smaller the piece, the easier the British can control it. UAE is totally dependent on outside powers over its security. Totally. It's a sliver of land. How much production capacity can one this sliver of land have to have judicial capacity? But so it's a mess out there, and they're arming all sides. It all because there are too many mouths to feed, apparently. That we cannot sit at the table and all eat. We have to fight for the food on the table. Everybody is acting that there is not enough for both of us. We need to kick some ass and eliminate a few from this table because there is not enough for all of us to eat. That's a bit aggressive. I mean, whoever takes the view that maybe it's not a good idea to try to, at 21st century of Christian century, maybe it's not a good idea to try to suffocate the other side to submission. Maybe let the other side eat. Maybe it's not a good idea. In 21st century, they're still, circling the wagons and, circling the castle and trying to starve the people inside into submission by the embargoes and sanctions and this and that, all because apparently there is not enough food on the table for everybody to eat. Some people shall eat less. Okay, those people who eat less, Mr. Musk, for those people who eat less, if you want labor, they will work for less. You take a trip around the world, see Indonesia, see Malaysia, see the numbers, see India, see the numbers, and wherever you want, you can set up shop if you need labor. If your problem is with more of us will be better, why don't you use them? What else then we're talking about here? If you think there should be more of us, there is more of us. Have a trip around the world and you will see a lot more of us. There is enough people, I can assure you. You want to take care of, if you invite 100 million Nigerians to your state, they will come. They will come, and state of Texas can have double its population overnight. Then you have, I guess, enough people. You should. I mean, if you're looking for people, they will, gladly relocate, immigrate, and you get your people, and they will pay for your retired. Their work will be added to the productivity, and that would somehow compensate for the retirement plan of a large number of people who are retiring. If you need productivity, you can import productivity. If that is where you're going, or productivity or consumption, just mass import. Believe me, the rest of the world wants to live in Texas. Give them a chance. I can give you, 100 million signature by tomorrow morning from 110 other territories on planet Earth. Different tribes. Turkish tribe, and there is an Indian tribe, and then there is a Persian tribe, and then there is the Arab tribes, and then there is the Congolese, and then there is Sudanese, and then there is the Egyptian tribe. I can give you 100 million out of Egypt tomorrow morning. Airlift, bring them to Texas, and you have as much human resource as you need. Just say the word. I'm sure, can be done. Half of Mexico has already been tried to move to the northern territories to fill the need, because they're willing to work for less. But the less on this side of the line is a lot more than that. The more on that side of the line, so maybe it makes a lot of difference in if the day they return, they can improve their economic stature in the society with the remittance, with the money they send back. But the point is this: don't tell me you don't have numbers. You're right on the border, and that's a good thing. You can have as much labor on that side of the Mexican side of the border as you want, as you wish. All of Mexico will bunch up in that corner, because whatever jobs you can provide them are going to be well paid, hopefully, and you can get as much as you want. Please don't advertise more people. For heaven's sakes, it's just a bad idea. It's a Borg mentality. Okay, more people, lower living condition, no problem. No problem for you, but more problem for the rest of us. Or not even us, for the rest of the generations to come. I'm not living like a Borg. Very few are living like a Borg today, but as you increase the numbers, and because the system keeps the same thing has to happen with a lot of loss in wealth that is setting aside, you have to create more people to feed the older people. Borg, that's generations to come, which is a bad idea. Because, yes, become a benevolent, informed race of explorers out in space. That's fine. But don't become Borg. Sort of like, we don't have a life. What we do is we assimilate. We move on, we build, assimilate. We build, assimilate. But living standard, no, not much. Fuck them, they're Borg. When we are done with them, we dismantle them. Soylent Green type of shit. So, bad idea. You don't want Soylent Green. I'm sure you're you know, bad idea, sir. No, reproduction is not a good idea. Please, please, do not advertise reproduction. And you can have as because you can have as much workers as you want in Texas. Just give the word to the governor and say, I want 50,000 Nigerians here tomorrow morning. I need them for work. I'm sure you can come to some sort of understanding with the kings of Texas. Right. And you can have as much labor as you want from the rest of the world that they love the opportunity to jump into Texas, and you know, they all have, you know, high living standard, enjoy high living standard. But you know, that living standard probably is going to go down a little because of more people, less resources. More people, less resources. More people, less resources. More people, less resources. Okay, now what we have to do? We have to go to war. You're advocating war when you say let's have more people.